everybody. Welcome back to another episode of AetherFlows podcast with me, your host, Gina. Hello, everyone. I want to first off give a heartfelt thank you to all of the new subscribers and to everyone watching these videos and commenting and liking. I so appreciate it. I'm grateful that you guys are enjoying this, and I hope to make many more. So thank you. So I had a recent conversation with Steven Noack. He is an author. He is an NDE survivor. He is a quantum energy healer, and he works with people all around the world. I've worked with him. He's amazing. He's an amazing healer, and he's got an incredible story. So I hope you guys enjoy the video, and I will see you soon. Thanks. Well, I guess, why don't you just start at the beginning and we'll figure it out.
Sure. So, like I said, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
When I was 4 years old, I had a near-death experience. I saw a lot of things. I knew something very different had happened, but it took a few years to get the memories to come back. They started to come back as visions, memories, and a very solid memory. Like, I knew something happened. I tried to talk about it at the time, and it made me feel really awkward. So I hid it. And even though the memories began to expand and grow, and I was always extra sensitive and other things, I would have visions that I couldn't explain. I learned to compartmentalize it and keep it to myself. And eventually, once I, got into my 20s, I figured it was just a memory of something that had happened to me and that it was over and done with, and that I didn't need to look into it any further. But 2008, everything changed. And so I'll go into the NDE itself, where I was across the street from my house, and I was sitting on a big wheel, which is like a plastic tricycle. And my brother's across the street, and he's calling me to come home, and I say, okay. And I just shot right out the driveway in between two parked cars. There was a car coming. So the car hit me, and she was also drinking, and I was really small, so she didn't know she hit a child, so she kept going. What saved me was actually the big wheel that's kind of got lodged in the back tire there. But for me, it was an experience of a blur, and then instantly seeing myself, and I'm looking at myself, and I see my eyes roll on the back of my head, and then everything fades like the end of a movie to black, and then it opens back up again. And when it opens back up, I'm sitting with someone, and I'm literally on their lap, and I'm leaning on my head on their chest. My head's kind of down, and when I open my eyes, I see the bottom of what looks like silver hair, or like luminescent hair. It's almost touching the ground. I can see the bottom of what appears to be like a robe. I don't see any feet. And so my first thought is, what happened? So I turned to ask this person what happened, and it's a hooded figure of light. There's no face. There's only light there. So it's an angelic being of light. So I kind of paused for a moment, and then asked the being, what happened? And they said, Steven, you were in an accident. Put your head down. Everything's going to be all right. And that was something that echoed in 2008. That really got my attention. But Steven, put your head down. You're in an accident. Everything's going to be all right. So I did. And as I put my head down, I'm kind of staring at this being in the face. And I remember some really just quick thoughts of like, I didn't move my mouth to talk, or just the normal things. A couple of those real quick. And as I'm staring into the face, I feel myself getting closer and closer and closer, and I'm getting like stretched, and it feels like I'm getting stretched like an elastic. And I'm going now into the light, and I go for, I don't know how long. To me, it feels like a few seconds, but at the end, or at a certain portion of this light, a scene opened up, and it was the most beautiful nature scene that you could ever imagine. There were colors there that I've never seen, still to this day. The flowers, the green grass, the mountains, the rivers, the meadows, just endless vastness of this pure image of nature before it was untouched, I suppose. And so I noticed the colors are alive, and I get the sense and the feeling that they're sovereign beings, that they're choosing to do this. as opposed to, hey, I'm just the color of this. And so I'm seeing colors move and everything and moving. There's a path, there's colors, kind of, I suppose you could say energy moving through the air. So I'm just in wonder. And I notice there's figures kind of in the distance. And it's like the feeling of the greatest carnival in the world. Just endless carnival, and you're there with your family type of feeling. And so I noticed two particular figures off to my left, and they're playing, and they're obviously having fun. And it looks like the silhouette of a little girl, and she laughs, and this energy just kind of comes out of her, and it comes to me, and it touches me right in the center. And it's something expanded, and I instantly knew that everything came from this place, and everything would go back to it. But it had to be love to return there. It had to be a match in frequency and vibration. Otherwise, it wouldn't be getting in there. And so there was this sense that everything was love in between as a story and a journey. But that I was home, and that this was me, this feeling. And so I asked, can I stay? And they're like, no, it's not your time yet. We have other things that we need to show you. As they say that, it's like somebody just grabbed a curtain and pulled it, because that whole scene just went away. And I'm standing in this kind of partially dark, almost like a night sky without stars. And then I see these blue illuminated lines start. They're going down and across like a grid pattern. And they tell me this is the quantum field.
Okay.
This field is connected to all of humanity. It's what connects us all. And so I'm just like watching and listening and I don't know, downloading for later, I suppose, because I never thought I'd be here today. But they tell me it's the quantum field and that it connects all people together as one. Then the next thing I notice is like this pillar of light in front of me. And the voice speaks to me again and says, this is you as you enter the world, and you spent your energy to have an experience with material reality. And as I said that, I could see these kind of cords reaching out to a screen that went all around. And in the screen, I could see what almost looked like little seams or maybe little TV boxes, the best way I can describe it. And they said all of your thoughts and emotions are recorded in the quantum field. This is what you would call a life review, but you do not need to die to have it. And we call this ascension. So that ended. And then I noticed something kind of glowing up in the left-hand corner. Still a night sky. There's no more lines. Those went away. I noticed something that looks like almost like a credit card, but a corner's cut off. And it has circuits on it. And almost like a motherboard of a computer, if you've ever seen it. And I just think, what is this? And they say, this is your divine blueprint. This is the original image that you were created with. That kind of goes away. The next thing I see is a triangle kind of coming towards me, and it stops as it's in front of me, and it has blue lines going all the way around it, and it's kind of like a glow. And naturally I'm thinking, what is this? And the voice says, this is Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, and Holy Son. Make these three one. And that's it, like some kind of Willy Wonka riddle or something. So at 4, hard time conceptualizing or remembering any of this. By like 11, that's when it all starts to come back. And I start to feel vibrations in my body with it and different things. That's when I try to talk about it. That's when it's not received very well. And this is going to make me even weirder than I already am. So learn to hide that. Didn't know what a lot of that stuff meant for a long time. And because I had experienced something that was so far out there, I figured if there was a God, he doesn't like me. Because by the time I got to age 30, I had flipped a car over at 75 miles an hour, crashed motorcycles, had numerous injuries from sports, was taking pain medication just to function and go to work. I mean, I was deep in pain and darkness and physical pain. Each day, dreading to get up, didn't want to be here. So having the experience, I became quite a skeptic, you could say, in between. If there was a God, prove it. That type of person. I was very angry at the world. At that time, I'm working at games. I don't know know if I'm allowed to say that. I'm working at a well-known video game store that had some stock explosion a few years ago.
Right.
So I'm working as a manager at the video game store at that time. Really angry. Didn't like the public. Didn't like people. Didn't like myself, to be honest with you. I go in for a routine surgery. I'm having surgery on my elbow, and this is about 33 years later. I'm having elbow surgery. I'm just about to kind of go in there. I had just got the gown on. I sat down, and I felt overwhelmed with panic and overwhelmed with fear, and I had no idea why. It was just boom, and I said to myself, I need to get out of here. And I didn't even really know why, because I wasn't really afraid. So I went to sit up, and as I sat up, this energy started at my toes, and it just went all the way around in my body, and it encapsulated me. And it was a warm, like, loving energy that was just like everything's all right. And it was in an instant. And so I saw this extreme fear to this extreme shift in that loving vibration. And it was literally strong enough to sit me back down. And then that's when I heard the voice say to me, Steven, put your head down. Everything's going to be all right. And then there goes normal reality as I knew it, because now I was awake. I was really hearing this voice that I had thought, okay, something happened when I was younger. Yeah, it's cool, but I can't explain it yet. I don't know what it means. I don't even know if it was real. Maybe it was a dream. So I was at that point in, if there is a God, where are you? So as this voice says this to me, there's this energy that just shoots through my body. And it's like someone hit rewind on a tape reel. I just start seeing all these scenes from my life flash faster than I can retrieve in the back of my mind. And these vibrations coming through my body that are kind of controlling me, that I can't really, I've never felt anything like that before, because it literally sat me down when I wanted to get up. Mm-hmm. So I go in, I calm down, don't know what's happening. I go in and have the surgery. I come out. A few days later, I notice there's a light that's like waking me up. My eyes are closed. There's a ball of light in my room, and I wake up, and I'm like, is that a lamp? No, there's a small lamp there. No, it's not headlights. It's a literal 3D ball of light that's just slowly kind of moving. So for sanity's sake, I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever. I'm not too scared of ghosts or whatever. I'm like, whatever. If you're going to hurt me, you're going to hurt me. I can't stop you. So at that time, I go to sleep after staying up for a while, trying to figure it out. A few nights later, there's more of them. And then that kind of slowly went away. The next thing that happened was I go to work and I start hearing people's thoughts. And I'm like, I can hear kind of opinions going on, but they're talking about the games. And I wasn't sure what was going on at first, to be honest with you. Obviously, there's also some type of energetic charge still left in my body. And it's almost like being a kid on Christmas Eve, and you can't put that energy to rest until Christmas comes. It was kind of like that times 1,000. So how I tested this was I would have people come up and I would ask them in my mind just to see if I was crazy or not. Do you want a bag with that? I would ask them in my mind. I would hear the answer. Then I would ask them out loud. And 99% match. Soon after that, I started to just get these waves of energy that I couldn't explain. It was like sadness would roll through me, and I'd feel like I'd want to cry, happiness, and other emotions, to the point where I'd be bursting out laughing for no reason because I couldn't control it. So my assistant manager is looking at me like something is going on. And I go on lunch. That was within the first couple of weeks of this voice returning to me. I go to lunch, and I'm at the gas station, and I'm standing in line, and there's a father and a son, and I'll never forget this. The son goes out of line. He grabs a Reese's peanut butter cup. Sorry for any copyright infringement. He grabs a chocolatey peanut buttery snack, and he turns to his dad, and he says, "Can I have this?" And the father says, "Okay." And then he does it again, except he didn't say, "Can I have another one?" He said, "Can I have this?" Same exact thing. And I just looked at the cashier, and my mind was like, I don't know what that was all about. And I went, paid for my stuff, walked out to the car, started the car, and the radio was on. And it's a woman who is just finishing winning a radio contest. They're talking about the answer. They're talking about the question. All of a sudden, the phone's ringing on the radio, and it's the woman, and they're asking her the question. And I said, I just heard the answer. And so that was the day I was like, I might need to go to the hospital. So I did not. I went back to work, trying to hold the seams together while this other stuff is ruminating. And it was probably the next couple of days. I'm driving home. I'm being really hard on myself. I'm beating myself up. And I think it's important to note here that my parents didn't bring us to church. I didn't know anything about religion or spirituality. And so I'm driving home and I'm beating myself up. I'm being really hard on myself. You're not good enough father, son, whatever it may be. And then this voice comes in. And so, let me back up for a second. The next thing that happened was I was starting to awaken to hear human spirits. Starting to hear apparitions, human spirits, starting to feel them, see them a little bit, kind of freaked me out. Then, within a few days of that happening, this voice speaks to me. And I wasn't too sure whether I should believe it or not. It starts telling me all these wonderful things about me, all these people that loved me, and all the good things I'd done. And I'm like, it was very different than interpreting the whispery human interactions I was having up to that point, where I'm trying to just leave me alone type stuff, and I would hear some feedback. So this was clear, and it was perfectly crystal clear. And it sounded like me, but it wasn't me. And so the voice tells me all these beautiful things, and I say, who are you? And I'm driving at this point. And the voice says, I am. And I go, I am who? And the second response is, I am. And I said, I heard you the first time. I am who? And on the third one, I am, it was like, I can't explain what happened still to this day. Every memory I've ever had in my life, with every emotion I ever had, came out of me at the same time, but separately. I could feel them separately, but it was happening at the same time. And I started crying immediately, the hardest I've ever cried. I didn't have to think about anything. It all just happened. And I had to pull the car over. I must have cried for a good 10, 15 minutes and go, what the heck was that? I went home, I looked up the phrase, found references. Next day, I started going to churches, trying to talk to people. They really didn't have a lot of answers, to be honest with you. So a little time goes on. I'm starting to get books and I'm doing different things now than I've done my entire life. And my family's looking at me like, what's going on with him? You can't exactly explain it. There's really nobody to talk to. And the first synchronicities that started to happen were around angels and things like that, and angels and demons, But there was a polarity thing there. There was a positive and a negative. And I was immediately made aware that there was a war happening within heaven, and it was within me. And it was between this earthly self and this heavenly self, but that they were one. So probably the next thing to happen was these apparitions that I started to notice that were around me. I'm just hearing up to this point little whispers, and I'm like, okay, I can keep that at bay. I can ignore that and still function. So I'm simply trying to function, keeping the seams together. Now I'm starting to notice bigger pieces of energy moving around me. I can see rainbow energy. I can see silhouettes that are starting to manifest, and they're moving around all times of the day, but especially active at night. And so I'm trying to tell them, leave me alone. I'm thinking I'm haunted, etc., etc. They start to interact with me. They start to say, "Oh, we're going to drag you to hell. You're nothing. You're never going to be anything." A lot of negativity with maybe 10% of a positive side. And so I'm going through thinking I'm haunted for like a month. I go back to this doctor and I ask him, "What did you do to me?" And he looked at me like I was nuts, because I'm like, okay, I go up into his office and I demand that I see him, and I'm asking him. And the whole time I'm sitting in his office, I can feel spirits here, there, here, there. It was a harsh awakening. And so now I'm seeing these silhouettes around me at home. I'm trying to go to sleep at night. They're communicating with me. There was some human in there, but a lot of it was distortion and interference. And what I mean by that is my first direct contact with what I would describe as an interdimensional aliens, Arcturians, Galactic Federation, was them showing up in the corner of my room and telling me that I'm a divine instrument, that I'm out of tune, and I'm experiencing duality and distortion. And this is where these were projections were coming from, because reality is happening.
Internal.
Yeah.
It sounded like shadow aspects of yourself.
Reality was happening through me, not to me, and that I was the modulator. But my divine instrument was out of tune, like a garage, that was, or a guitar that was sitting in the garage for 30 years. Got to tune it. And so the first time they show up, we're from the Galactic Federation, we're from the Divine Council of Nine, we're Arcturians, and we're here to help you in your ascension because you're going to help guide humanity in its next stage of evolution. And I'm like, you got the wrong guy, dude. I'm pretty sure you got the wrong guy. And the energy that I could feel and how clearly they were communicating, it was entirely different. I could feel the pressure on my body. Everything changed. I told them to leave me alone. I started looking up the information they gave me. And a lot of it turned out to be somewhat real. And so I had to listen the next time they came. And they were showing me how to tune my mind, my heart, and my body to align with truth as a knowing or a sensation in my body, so that I could ground myself into a direct current. And that most people, their identity, because they're not the body, is inhabiting this alternating current where they're being polarized to go back and forth between dark and light. They were showing me how to unify the two opposing currents, heaven and earth, into one ground state. And so they were coming back and just downloading information into me, speaking to me. There'd be days where they're like, Steven, go outside. And I'm like, okay. And I would go outside and go do something outside because I knew I needed that energy instead of staying inside working. So they would start to slowly visit. During this period, I was having dreams, intense dreams of touch and lucid dreams of going on ships, being in a slick white suit. I had no hair on my body at all. The first dream was in a medical area. They had to do something in order for me to go around the other areas. And the next few dreams didn't matter how far they were spaced apart or together. They were on the same ship, different areas. And some of them were around these pods of children, these intelligent children. And I didn't know exactly if they were real, if they weren't real, but I could feel that they had something to do with the star seeds and things like that. I could walk by them and feel their intelligence just dripping on me. So there were different areas of the ship during that time, and this was the only time I would wake up covered in pools of sweat. And I would go to work and I would touch things, and I instantly knew how to take it apart and put it back together. I knew how to fix it, even though I had never seen it before, just by touching it. That was really the heightened harshness and that calmed down sense. There was another visitation that was kind of really shocking, where I was sitting outside in a lawn chair, and I'm just like relaxing, watching the stars. All of a sudden, I feel myself getting pulled up and out of my body. Pretty quickly, to the point where I felt all my pain. And it's important to note, this is all going on while I'm like, going to work in pain. I'm trying to balance that, be a dad, other things. As I get lifted up out of my body, all my pain just melts away. And these beings, calling themselves the Sidriel, start speaking to me, and they're explaining to me that I'm energy playing a character inside a quantum holographic experience, so that I have an operating system and a hard drive, but that I had programs that I needed to uninstall, and that I could install my own program. So they're explaining it to me in a way I could get it, which I'm very thankful for. I just needed to know how to do that, and that was them walking me through the realignment of the system of divine technology that is our mind, heart, and body. So they're speaking to me. They're explaining a lot of things, also about singularity and the Trinity that I had seen during my NDE. It's going back to my NDE. They said Father, Mother, Son is also heaven, earth, sun. It's also mind, heart, body. They're giving me all these different correlations so that I can piece something together. And they tell me this is singularity. And so I start searching quantum physics theories and come to the physics theories of the triangle singularity, where both poles collapse into one and it creates a direct current or a stationary ground state, 0 point energy. So they're teaching me how to access my 0 point energy, how to claim it, embody it, to ground my system into a neutral pole instead of getting beat up by myself, by the world. And so a lot of it was overcoming the self at first, and then it went to, hey, I think this can help people because I know we're all connected to the same system. I'm not special. I just got hit in the head a lot, and got to see something. And so it came back to that singularity, but it was also about attachment to identity. And they were speaking on divine blueprint, and that this is a subconscious memory. This is a clear whole image within my subconscious for my thought to refract from, rather than looking for all these fragmented images, back to that beam of light where we spend energy, all these fragmented images that are in the minds of others that I think I need to get approval from. And, oh, I didn't text
external
this person.
validation.
Oh, yeah. So my energy essentially in that multidimensional landscape of being projected into the quantum field was fragmented and at vibrating at different frequencies, all these different means. Some of them felt they still needed to protect me. And so that's where we get to the triggers, the inner child being the subconscious mind. So they were guiding me on how to speak to energy, how to transform it and transmute it using the singularity. Dare I say it's almost like a black hole, fundamentally, using the torus field of the heart. But first it had to be powered up because the body's like a battery. I'm the energy in the body gathering charge, but I'm consistently losing it because these other aspects of me want to go into the past to reconfigure data. They want to go into the future to feel safe. That's where I'm getting linearized when really time is not linear. And so I needed to reprogram a sense of knowing of that into my subconscious and align my thought with, I'm already whole, I'm already loved, I'm already validated, already forgiven, and not negotiate that. Yes. And so that slowly started to make it very hard to function at my old job. I had to leave work.
At GameStop?
Yeah. I couldn't deal with the public anymore. It was just energy coming and going. And but before that happened, before I left, probably shortly before, I had this woman fall outside my store. And our payroll was terrible. So I was the only one working. I saw her first. I went out there. It was an elderly woman. She hit the cement. She was in a lot of pain. She's moaning and groaning, and for some reason I put my hand on her to, console her. And a few seconds after that, she turned to me and she goes, "I'm all warm and I have no more pain." And my mind was just like, "What?" Because I felt the warm kind of after she said it go up my arm. EMTs came, the person at the bread company next to me that makes those lovely sandwiches. They came out, called EMTs. I stayed with her till they came. But that was the start of, okay, there really is something happening here. So it was getting hard for me to be around people. I was feeling so much, dealing with so much. I chose to go into dementia and Alzheimer's care. And I don't know why, but it was the greatest thing I ever did. I did that for 8 years. And it was during that time that I was able to witness myself, regardless of anybody else's opinion. When it was just me and this other person. It was actually just me and Creator. And I realized that during it. And I had so many inner outer reflections where, you're polishing the silver for them. And you wanted to stop, but you had the realization that you were the silver and that there was something you weren't polishing within you. And that's why you didn't want to finish this. And so that made you keep going. And you wanted everything on the outside to reflect the truth of who you were on the inside. So there was the realization that day when I went, holy cow, it didn't matter the face, the eyes, the condition of the person. That was Creator, and they're working with me, having a relationship with me. And then I realized moment to moment, I'm here to have a love story with creation itself. It's not really about anything else. It's moment to moment, I'm having a love story with the flowers, the birds, the stranger, whoever it is, and that's always running in the background. And as long as that was a good relationship, that my outer would reflect that value back to me. And so I started to learn, I'm connected to the circuit. I just don't want to put too many logs in the river and stop the flow. I don't want to attach my identity to the roles I'm playing, the things I'm doing, to what people think I am. There had to be a cultivation of some sense of identity above the world, because going through that process, I was enlightened to the fact that there's a lot of things that want to steal our energy, harvest our quantum energy, our potential for its own gain. All the things that tell us we're not enough this, we're too much this. Very little things say you're already enough. And to move from that position, because, again, there's an alternating current, and things that want to use and alter our emotions for their own potential, because our emotions are the gold. That's the energy. It's like the movie Monsters, Inc., if anybody ever saw it. But by tuning yourself and being in the right frequency and grounded in the image of creator that you were made in, and not negotiating with feedback, that's when I became very powerful in the fact that I had my free will back. I was no longer in bondage to all these systems that I was placed in.
We've always had free will. It's just the realization that you've changed yourself,
Mm-hmm.
Which is that's what all those crappy voices are. All those no, you can never do that. No, you're not good enough. This other person's better than you. That's all yourself. But yeah, I knew there was a reason that I should have a conversation with you. I'm really glad I contacted you.
And the whole time I'm trying to keep my skepticism. I'm still now today, because I had kind of a normal upbringing where I hid a lot of this. I'm still show it to me 2 or 3 times before I believe it type person. And I think that's helped me. So slowly people started getting put in my path, and I'm like, there's so-and-so asked me to do a favor. Maybe you can help them. Maybe you can help them. And I started to see the effect of the healing work, and then being taught about quantum entanglement and how to literally connect with someone and reprogram their subconscious, their cellular memory from a distance, because we were all connected. So before I got there, though, a lot of their instructions and guidance were to call in all of my multidimensional energy into the moment of now, to bind it together with the Christ. I want all of my lower neurotransmission to go through the Christ before it speaks to my body. That's how I got pain out of my body. That's how I healed, was rerouting the signal of duality or distortion or separation into the torus field, into the Christ. Where we get stuck is we're storing our experiences in our body. We did that for the first part of our life, didn't work out so good. And so now we're kind of getting an upgrade during this period where there's a unification, where we don't have to store this other fractured self in the body anymore. It can be cycled through the heart. So a lot of it was being taught about non-duality, that I was a being that had, I would say, authority over all dimensions. But first I had to learn I had authority over myself. And so slowly people got put in my path, and I saw the effects, and it just snowballed into where what was part-time, as I was doing senior care, and that care became full-time by the work, because I was having people healed of like digestive disorders, food allergies, kids coming off the ventilators and going home from hospitals, and just a wide range of stuff where I'm still today like, wow, because I know it's creator doing it in this intelligent energy we're all connected to. So it still surprises me, and I want to keep that curious inner child heart. But for me, when I felt I got lifted out of that chair and I felt heaven again, and I had no pain in my body, because there was no pain in heaven. There's no religion, no separation. I knew when I felt it again, alive this many years later, and I sank back into my body and I felt pain return, that I was going to go back there. That I didn't have to wait until I died to go back to heaven. And there came all the revelations, where I'm in the Garden of Eden. We just covered it over with our ego and all these other things. But yeah, a lot of it just that compass. And I learned creator was a feeling that I wanted to keep within me present so I could feel. And I learned that when I let Steve have too much of an opinion about outcomes or the world, that kind of fractured me from that feeling. So, fear, worry, stress, anxiety, all the things that comes with the chaos of the world, they're messengers. But I wasn't decoding it in the right place. And again, rerouting all of the lower energies back into the heart is the way to go to keep from getting short-circuited. into these alternate realities. But it was a lot of change rapidly, to where my family's like, I think you need to see a shrink.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because you just went through a large part of your life just now, and I've had so many parallel experiences along kind of the same timeline too. The first, what is it? Your first Saturn return is around 29. That was a very dark period for me as well, and having all of these kind of paranormal, or I don't know what is paranormal. I think it's normal. We're just not used to it yet. Just having all of these experiences when you're a kid and getting kind of almost just programmed out of trusting yourself and knowing that those experiences really happened, and kind of in order to fit in with your friends, your family, you kind of talk yourself out of it, and you're like, oh, that was just a dream, or that you discount a lot of stuff, and you put on all of this armor, and you kind of go through life, and at some point, just everything kind of falls apart, and you're like, what? Why did this happen to me? Why all of this stuff in the external? Why is it all of this? And I had to have that happen a couple of times, where just your whole life kind of falls apart, and you're like, why did this happen to me? Before you realize, actually, this is happening for you, and this is happening with you. This is your plan. This is all your game. And
that's why I tell everybody, if I can do it, anyone can do it. And that's the God's honest truth, because I wasn't qualified. I had no knowledge of any intelligent being beyond myself. I wasn't very intelligent at the time, but
we're just not very conscious. I don't know. I mean, maybe we had the blinders on.
Yeah, it's the survival. It's the cellular memory of our experiences still being stored in the body when they weren't meant to be stored in the body. That's what shifts the polarity. We're talking positive and negative, right? I'm a stream, I'm a current of life force energy, not just the body. When my polarity goes out of whack, well, then I create duality and distortion. That feedback rolls back through my body. Yes, to be reconfigured, that data, but I'm not processing it in the right space because I compartmentalize the things I don't want to approach. That's what we've been taught how to do, survive, rather than transmute, transform, alchemize. And so them coming back and teaching me all the things that I saw at 4, I'm just like,
yeah. It's funny. So I don't know if you've watched any of my videos, but I live in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and I haven't always lived up here. It's been pretty kind of a recent thing. I was definitely guided up here, and I ended up forging a friendship with a family of Sasquatch people, which sounds totally bizarre, but it's true.
Not at all to me.
And what's that?
Not at all to me.
But they have been leaving me glyphs. They're called, stick glyphs, and they're kind of like almost like a communication or art or like a symbol that they leave. And lately it's been in the shape of a Y, like a stick with two little branches that stick out. And it was over and over again. I keep finding these sticks where, there's a place out in the woods that I go to. And it got to the point where I was like, what is this about? And I asked in my mind, I was like, why am I seeing the shape? Why are you guys giving me this shape so much? And they said it's from fragmentation to wholeness. That's the shape. So it's funny that you mentioned that.
Yeah, the two becoming one again. But there's, in the quantum physics perspective, we're looking for that neutral ground state. And so I got fascinated with not just that, neuroscience, what was happening to me. I came across action potentials where if you increase the voltage high enough in the body, I think it's like 31 milliamps or something. I'd have to get the correct terminology. But it's about 31 in the voltage. You push it, your nervous system literally passes a threshold to where your ion channels in your cells open and they dump negative charge. And that's where our memory's stored. And so the polarity starts shifting in the cell. You start to shift your consciousness between the light and dark. fascinated me at why I didn't have control over that. What made me tick? What made me think about this? The simplest things. Why do men have to look at women in a sexual way? Why is it such an instinctual? I was just looking for those. What is the driving mechanism or force behind those instincts? And that's when I was guided to get a lot of book on archangels and demons and understand polarity as a nature of human being, and different aspects of self, and really went deep into the purification of anything that would disrupt me from collecting more of creator within me, feeling that. And so the more accountable I am for what I create to the energy of love itself, regardless of people, the more I can see myself in everything. If I stop being accountable moment to moment for what I create in the screen and mirror of love, the less I will see myself. More accountable to the energy of love moment to moment. Standalone energy, I don't need it from anybody, it's what I am. Being mindful of what I create in that mirror, then I can see myself everywhere. As soon as I stop, I stop seeing myself everywhere. And so I just learned how to be in that space, and not so much in the space where I am attached to the human story. Because as soon as we attach to the story, emotions, and naturally they taught me we're the ones that feel our emotions. We are not the emotions themselves. Don't allow them to become you. Observe them, thank them, acknowledge them. That kept a lot of backlog from building up in my system.
Okay.
Now, they taught me to, again, back to the inner child, subconscious, that it's not the amount of time we spend doing things, it's the amount of love and truth we do them with. And one small moment of love and truth can hold more TNT than 1,000 moments done without love and truth. And so that always helped me, along with the fact that I was already home and there was no other destination but to experience what I did, and that I could now be the person that I needed at a certain time for other people who need somebody. So craving more of that energy. And since I've seen amazing things, amazing quantum things, I'll have clients, literally, I have a lot of this recorded, clients who tell me I'll manifest to them when they need something. Or a woman that said, I signed up for a session with you and you appeared in front of me and asked me why I wanted to work with you. And I was like, oh, that must have been scary. She's like, oh, it was at first, but it was kind of comforting and it was interesting. And I'm like, there must have been some reason behind it, because I didn't do it willfully, but I believe we're all moving around in that quantum space, still working.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm a member of this kind of a meditation community that meets up every week, and we've been kind of practicing connecting to each other in the quantum, outside of the meditation, just connecting with each other. And it's amazing how intense that can be. You can just be like, okay, I want to connect with things, so, and all of a sudden you'll feel them and you'll be right there.
Mm-hmm. And if you have if you have a lot of negatively stored trauma in the cell memory, it's going to hit on those circuits. Because it's you're literally rewiring your neural pathways, your brain and your heart to work together and handle a certain subset of data in a way that's going to help you grow as fuel, rather than being compartmentalized for later and short-circuiting you into alternate realities. So, yeah, it's all so interesting and beautiful. And 2008 is what really put me full into it. Even though I was having visions of people being connected, everybody had a line going through their heart. And I would have these visions where they were all connected, but some were online and some were offline. You could see some people were lit up and some people were very dim in that divine instrument. They were playing not so nice kind of music, the notes, if you will, of the tone and the frequency coming out of them.
So when somebody comes to you, there's a wide range of things that could happen. There could be physical healings. There could be, do you help people transmute like ancestral energies as well? Or is it kind of just like a client to client basis, like whatever they need, they get the help?
Yeah, primarily it's client to client, depending on their needs. But generally, we touch on, I don't know if you ever heard of Tesla's triangle, frequency, energy, and vibration. That was a lot of the first stuff they were teaching me based on the triangle I saw, frequency, energy, density.
369, is that?
Yep. And so we're going through some protocol. I call it the Trinity protocol that was given to me, channeled to me, that helps realign conscious and subconscious and release that negative charge that's kind of attaching to us. It helps transmute it. So we walk through some of that, and then we touch on any ancestral karma passed down, any we'll say past lives, and a lot of things I didn't believe in until I'm literally experiencing them, and I'm going through this thirst for God, and going and getting these books after this I am experience, and I literally, there was one week I knelt down in front of a cross and I was crying because my family's looking at me funny and I'm alone and going through this. Tell me why I'm seeing this or what's happening to me. That's when a vision starts, and it's more clear than the world we're in. And I should mention that about the heavenly place. It was so vibrant and clear. It was like 4K HD compared to our world that would be like a glass tube television. So that was the difference between here and there. It was vibrant and clear and crisp. So I'm having this vision where I'm kneeling at a cross. I ask God to show me why me, and I'm looking out of my own eyes. I see sandals. I see a tunic. I see a sandy road, and I could see every glint of light off of every grain of sand. It was so clear. There's a river to my left. There's two rivers to my right, and they kind of converge into one in front of me. And that's when it ends. And I looked up, whatever was happening. I just kind of had the inkling, well, thanks, God. Was my first thought. Thanks. That told me a lot. And so I had the feeling, should I look this up? And I did, and there was parting of the Red Sea. Like, I don't know who I was, what I was doing, but I know I must have been there because my knowledge and my thirst for God just came out of nowhere, like I had already had it. And I was knowing things without knowing them. I didn't even know how I knew them, but they were just there. And so that gave me some sense of relief that I had done this before. No matter who I was, I had experienced that type of energy before.
I think a lot of the healers have probably been in this role thousands of times, maybe on other planets and other systems and other universes here in preparation for this time. Honestly, I think we all, those of us that are attracted to this stuff, that are magnetized, we've been doing this for a long time, and that's probably a reason why we have a lot of ancestral karmic miasma and gunk in the energy bodies, because this sort of healing, this sort of consciousness has not really been received very well by the rest of society.
Yeah.
So,
and obviously,
there's definitely a purification process.
The beings that want that type of energy want to keep people trapped in loops. It's all about loops and breaking those loops, those patterns, habits, impulses. I just learned how to use my stubbornness on something inside of me instead of outside of me. And that's the truth.
I love that. That's amazing. Just turn that frown upside down. You can be stubborn about cleaning up your energy.
Yeah, and I became so sovereign that I don't want anything in my nervous system trying to alter my emotions, trying to modulate my experience. I am the only modulator of the frequencies that come through my system. No happening outside of me is going to change how I feel without my say-so. So, sovereign being, parameters, programming. I want to feel when something enters my system to try to attempt to change my emotions and be able to acknowledge it and rewire it. Because you're not going to seed into my subconscious and find some fractured identity to link to, because that's kind of how it occurs. But very sovereign about my energetic system.
Do you teach people about how to do this?
Absolutely. That's what we do in sessions. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Teach them how to ground and unify the currents and address the duality as it occurs, so that they're no longer in the matrix. The matrix is going to grab you by your separation from whatever's not love. That's what it's going after. So I need a regularly scheduled data maintenance program to address these programs or spam emails that are going to occur that build up in my system, because when they get too big, they're going to hijack my nervous system.
You got to defrag.
Yes, defragmentation. Yeah.
I never worked at GameStop, but my wife is a software developer, so I know a
Oh,
little
well,
bit of the
perfect.
lingo.
And so what the Arcturians and the Galactic Council were teaching me was that this experience is being defragmented in order to be expanded and upgraded. So I knew it's going to get a little wonky with society, and I was kind of saying that a little bit as I was getting the info, and people thought I was nuts. And then they came back to me, I think, when everything started to change a bit in the world. I think it was COVID and stuff like that. And they're like, man, you were right. I'm like, I told you it's going to get weird.
Let's talk about your family a little bit. Like, I'm sure many people who are going to watch this will have similar experiences, but I kind of had, awakening happens in stages. And I feel like so many of us are kind of awakening at this time, and they have families that are all over the place as far as polarity goes. And so there's so many different reactions and maybe judgments. And so how did you navigate through that, and what's your relationship with your family now?
It's great now. Very interesting how people simply find out by word of mouth, not even by my doing. Just happen to run into other people and they find out the work you did for them, and they just happen to tell your mom, hey, your son helped me release an entity that I couldn't release for 30 years, no matter who I saw. So when your parents start to hear that and you're not the one talking about it, it comes differently. So now our relationship's cool. They know it's my job. I do it full time. In the beginning, it was strained because they were fighting what that system that they had known for so long, that toxic system that is like a network. And it'll bounce between each person just to keep that network stable in darkness. So as they heard about it more and more, they became more welcoming to it. But at first, it was a stage of me not really talking to anybody about anything. I would go into nature when I got out of work. I would do my own thing. And I realized I'm going to pursue this, whether you like it or not. You can either love me or you can hate me. And if you do the latter, then it just means that was already there. So I realized it was revealing also what was in people already. And so I learned to embrace and trust that compass that I was starting to feel and to listen to that feeling, because frankly, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'd felt trauma for 35, 40 years. I had people telling me who I am and what to do, and I had just had enough. And that was where the stubbornness and the sovereignty came in. Yeah, I had to set some parameters. Like, no, we're not going to talk about people when they're not around while I'm here. That's not what we do in front of children. That's not the example we set. And so a lot of this was formed, for our toxic family system, but it helped reset the system. So I'm not going to allow that energy that's not sacred to touch me or be in my space, let alone my home, let alone around children who are small computers being programmed to interface with reality for the future. So
Little sponge computers.
Yeah, they knew I was serious though. So as they started to see the results of the work, and what could they really say? They either supported it or they didn't, which I don't really need your support because you're sourced anyway. It's simply your programming and your entities or creations that don't want to support. Like nothing personal on you. I still love you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like holding boundaries with people can be the most loving thing you do with them, really, and for yourself, rather than enabling this like enmeshed kind of dysfunctional.
Pass it along. Yeah, pass it along. Yep.
Passing the buck. You tell people, like, no, this isn't acceptable.
No, I'm a sovereign system. You're not going to put that through me to go to someone else. Not going to happen because I'm aware of what you're doing. I can feel the change in frequency. So my eye is always on separation. It's not really on the people. It's anything that separates me from love when I feel it. That's my target, not so much the person.
Yeah.
And we can speak to it in our mind as it's happening to us. Thank you for what you're teaching me. I see you, but you have no relevance over my identity. I'm already whole. And so that stops the contracting of these energies that want to squish us and take our identity.
How do you feel about shadow work? What's your what's your process? Do you communicate with these aspects and show them love and try to integrate, or are you all about like transmute it, get it out of my field?
Well, you have to give love, compassion, again, and forgiveness, because there's a wounded child at the core of those aspects, who represents the subconscious mind, who wants to run into the past, who wants to go out to the future and go look for something. Safety, generally, when we already have it. So it has to be acknowledged with genuine love, forgiveness, and compassion, followed by firm parameters. So, for instance, if a child runs out on the road, something happens, they're hurt, they're scared, I'm going to give them what they need in that moment, in love and compassion and forgiveness, and then I'm going to give the firm parameters so they don't re-enter that road again. So it's the same way when I'm dealing with energy, when I'm doing shadow work. My very first thing to do is to bind them all together as one, because I do want that data spread out. I want all together as one, and then I want to make the recognition that I'm one, and now these two polarities start to dance. And guess what? I'm going to win. I'm going to reverse the polarity in the system until you start to move out. But can I gather a big enough charge? That's where singularity comes in. And doing the consistent, I call all of my multidimensional energy back into the moment now. But yeah, the shadows aspects of ourselves are awaiting resolution from signals they didn't receive to complete the circuit of what they started. So we can be the ones to give them that regularly. And I do that generally, and it, directly to them, but also by, a few times a week saying I give gratitude and forgiveness to anyone I ever shared time with. And I ask for the same in myself through the Christ. Knowing we're all connected, that has helped me release a lot of emotional charge behind certain systems. So I know I can communicate to them that
way. Yeah. I've done that before where I've apologized for the field. When something's come up and I'm maybe not in contact with the person, or it was just a memory of something that happened, I've apologized to the field and asked for forgiveness, and I felt just a big wave of energy. And I'm, whoa, that was awesome. I felt like some little shards of myself came back. So, yeah, I love doing that.
Yep. So we already are. It's just a game of eliminating what we're not. And by focusing on what is not love, it becomes very easy.
Do you feel that your family and the people in your life do you feel like you've had some sort of energetic, vibrational like effects with them? Are they kind of, just by being around you, are they kind of upgrading and having realizations? And
most of them, yeah, not all. Some are here to learn different things.
Yeah, I suppose it depends on what they're here to learn.
But yeah, generally most of them. And by taking yourself out of that peg of that network, it changes the system entirely. You're just another peg in the toxic family system that this negative energy is bouncing around. It's going through everybody. So at certain times it may explode or reappear to anchor itself back into the family system. But you take yourself out by changing your frequency. So it's like throwing bounce in the dryer. I'm going to throw the bounce in me, and the socks are not going to stick to me.
I love that. Anti-cling.
Yeah, it's an antivirus for anything that wants to attach to my identity, by knowing my identity's already been given. But thanks for your opinion, buddy. Whatever energy it is coming or going, just being aware of inputs and outputs, what comes in, how I relate to it, and how it goes out. And understanding I am the triangle on the Pink Floyd t-shirt, modulating my experience.
Yeah, definitely. You seem like you have kind of a lot of Arcturian energy. Like you're very, I don't know, you have that that vibe. I can't really explain it, but
no, I understand. Feel it. Yeah, I've had other people be like, "You're very ET." I don't have a choice; they wouldn't leave me alone. But it was also such a rapid shift where I was like, it was hard to recognize myself for a little while. Like, I would go to do something that I had done 1,000 times prior to this energy coming in and all these things happening, and I would forget how to do it. Yet I knew all these quantum physics things. So it was like the basics of being human. All of a sudden it was like, wow, I'm feeling water for the first time. Wow, I'm doing this for the first time. That's how it really felt.
Yeah. I've definitely had some periods in my life where I've just accelerated so much. And the way that I have processed energy has just kind of flipped a switch just during dream time. And you wake up and you're just like processing energy in a totally different way. And it's like, what am I anymore? Like, what dimension am I in?
Yeah.
I'm waking up and seeing grids everywhere, and just like everything's vibrating, and you can see the energy moving in the air. And yeah,
Yeah.
lucid dreams. I've had a lot of
One
lucid
day
dreams lately.
I was driving to GameStop and I had seen a Merkaba or like Metatron's cube around me, and they're
Mm-hmm.
like, "This is your vehicle," and then I see there's like window panes almost, but not window panes, and they're shifting. And they're like when your
I've
perception
seen the
changes.
exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yes, I've seen the same thing. The other night, I had this dream, and when I do my healing stuff, I always see or I did until a couple of days ago. I would see the spinning Merkaba in my mind's eye, and then I have this dream where it's like I had this almost like a kombucha SCOBY. You know what that is? Like a big film. I felt it get pulled off my forehead, and then I saw the Merkaba that I always see, but it was all like a bunch of mirrors, and then there were eyeballs in all of the mirrors, and it was like the message I got was this is the Merkaba, this is the thing that you see all the time. Yep. But it was just incredible.
And as as those panes shifted, it's like my perception of the world was shifting, and it was like for an instant as I'm driving, I became aware of that, and I'm like, holy crap, okay, time to go back to work. Like, how do you go back to work after this stuff?
I recently left a job I had. I was working at an adult foster group home for people with autism and other things, and I just kept having these weird experiences with this one person that lived in the home, where they would come to me in my meditations and tell me messages, and then one day at work, this person who was not very, I guess, I don't know how to say it, but they're kind of like low functioning. They told me that they spoke to my mom, and then they told me my mother's name, and I was like, this is too much. I gotta go. Like, I'm feeling everyone's energies. I'm having all these telepathic communications with these other people that I work with, and it was.
That's why I would get out of work and I would go right into nature. And I would be there for hours. Yeah, I had to do it, and then I realized it was so strange. One day I was doing this out of instinct. I just felt like I needed to go do it, and I just started running through the woods like a little kid, and I was laughing, and I was jumping over things, and I was like, wow, because it was such a different feeling of what I knew of myself before this energy returning into me. It was like there was that inner child again. And then I was like, wait a minute, I want more of that. It's just my job to kind of give him more of that, and he'll be cool.
Right.
He'll be cool instead of being all angry.
In one of my meditations earlier this week, I was told that there's a part of me, there's a part of all of us that is always in joy and always playful. And I was, honestly, at first I was like, bullshit. But but then I was like, I'm going to try this out. Hey, Joyful Gina, come out. Come on, let's play around. And I felt this amazing just wave of joy, and like all this crud that I was feeling kind of just like burned away. It was amazing, but I had to let it kind of emanate through me, and it was so easy. But all I had to do was kind of believe 51% of that idea, and then it happened.
You know why? Because when I believe and know, when I know, that means my thought completed a circuit. So what I asked I asked my clients question, like, do you know how to tie your shoes? Go ahead and answer.
They're like, yeah.
I'm sure you do. Do you know how to drive a car? Now think hard about this one. Do you know how to make a bowl of cereal?
Yeah.
And it would be hard for me to convince you that you couldn't, right? Because there's a firm conscious subconscious agreement there. Now, if we can practice getting our conscious and subconscious to agree and mimic that same exact signal when it concerns, say, identity, we're basically magnetizing into being our divine blueprint. So I'm looking to finish my thought circuit when I'm speaking. I already am whole. No negotiation with feedback. And something they gave me on the inner child is people don't know how simple it really is. I ask my inner child to become present. Thank you. I ask my inner child to show me what peace feels like, and then allow yourself to feel. I ask my inner child to show me what love feels like. Now, some of those notes might be a little off, but it shows you where your inner child is out of tune, where you need love. You're literally testing to see what's out of tune. Not only that, filling yourself, because generally I will feel love in return. Show me what joy feels like. Show me what love feels like. And so there's a lot of refueling stations in the quantum field. It can be memories. It can be communicating with the inner child. But I want it with as little attachment to identity. I want my body to know that I am all of creation. I'm everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Try to label that. Try to squish that. Try to push that. So become too much free will for the world to tell what to do.
Wow, I love that. Man, I'm going to write that one down. Oh my gosh, what an awesome conversation. I love this. Thank you. Well, we're at 1 hour and 17 minutes. We should probably call it. But thank you so much, Steven. I'm genuinely having an excellent time. It was great.
Thank you for having me. I'm always happy to speak, especially in the spaces that are more organic and easier going. I like that. I'm not a lot for structure. I like free will.
Yeah, me neither. I'm not very good at I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to put myself into that lane. I prefer to let things flow organically. We'll say that. Yeah. I used to try to write down all these questions and stuff, and it just didn't feel good. It's like boring.
Put me in the tube and put me in the river and just enjoy the ride, right?
Right, exactly. Well, I will put all of your description stuff in the description. And for everybody watching, thank you so much. I had a great time, and I hope you did too. I'll see you next time.
And